Okay, welcome to A Course in Miracles. We're on Facebook Live also, talking to some people all over the world. We had a really intense class last week, and now I'm going to see if I can go ahead and finish everybody else off this week.
The rest of them.
Yeah, we see. I'll see who else. I see who stays.
The last man standing.
Yeah, after last week, we'll see who. Because I evidently ran everybody off. Okay. Welcome to Facebook Live and to the Course in Miracles. I'm Earl Purdy, and it's a pleasure to get a chance to talk to you about the Course in Miracles, and to see if we can give ourselves more inner peace. I don't know if inner peace is something anybody else is interested in beside me, but I think I'll ask you, anybody else interested in having some inner peace?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And so the Course in Miracles starts out by saying that, I really love the introduction. I'm going to say that again right quick. This is a Course in Miracles. This is a Course in Miracles. This is a Course in Miracles. It's a required course. This is a Course in Miracles. It's a required course. This is a Course in Miracles. It's a required course. This is a Course in Miracles. It's a required course. Only the time you take the Course in Miracles is voluntary. Only the time you take the Course in Miracles is voluntary. Only the time you take the Course in Miracles is voluntary. What does that mean? It says it means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. You can elect how much you want to do of anything at a given time. Let me give you an example that I like to use a lot. Is if you were going to be a lawyer and you went to college to learn how to be a lawyer, they tell you what you're going to take. You don't tell them what you're going to take. You don't tell them what the curriculum is to become a lawyer. They tell you what the curriculum is. And then what's up to you is you can elect what you want to take at a given time. So it's up to you whether you got a full load, whether you do it in the day, or whether you do it in the evening, or whether you do it on the weekend. That's your free will, not the curriculum or what you're going to have to learn in order to be a lawyer. But that's what the Course in Miracles is saying that's true for us, is that there are just certain mental attitudes and ways of looking at things that a person's going to have if they're going to have peace. First of all, they can't want to murder everybody. You know, they can't be constantly attacking, for instance, projecting, blaming, making yourself and others feel guilty all the time. That's not going to give you inner peace. So there's a certain, there are ways to go about doing that. And the Course in Miracles says that free will means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time, and that the Course in Miracles doesn't aim at teaching the meaning of love, because you can't really teach the meaning of love. It says love is beyond what can be taught, but that the Course in Miracles does aim at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. So that means that the purpose of the Course in Miracles is to get rid of every block to you being aware of the presence of love and joy and happiness and peace inside yourself. It's about removing all the blocks that keep you from feeling good and feeling peaceful inside. That's the purpose of the Course, to do what? To remove the blocks. It says to the awareness of love's presence, and then the Course in Miracles says, well, love's presence is your natural inheritance. That is what you were created as. You are created as love. You are love. The fact that you deserve love is your inheritance. And then another radical statement it makes is the opposite of love is fear. So when I'm afraid, I'm not feeling love according to the Course. When I'm afraid, I'm actually feeling the opposite of love. I'm not feeling love. So many people spend a lot of the day feeling what? The opposite of love. They're angry, they're worried, they're concerned, they have anxiety. That's the opposite of love. Some people think that fear and guilt is included in love. And the Course is saying, no, that's the opposite of love. And what's all-encompassing, which is love, it says it has no opposite. So it says the Course in Miracles can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened, and nothing unreal exists. If it's real, it can't be threatened. If it's unreal, it doesn't exist in the first place. So some people are in relationships that don't really exist.
I'm in one right now.
Right.
My daughter.
Well, at least she's going to be easy to control.
Yeah.
So that's one good thing. Now her, she kind of cute too. She's low key, real low key. Real low key. And herein lies the peace of God, is knowing that nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. And then, especially since you're here for the first time, the only guidelines to the Course in Miracles, the guidelines of this, you need not believe it, you need not accept it, you need not welcome it. Some of it might be hard to believe. Some of the things I say may be opposite to what you believe. Some of the things that the Course in Miracles says may be startling, hard to believe. You don't have to believe it. It also says to us that you're not being asked to analyze the ideas to death, and that if you use it, you'll see that it works. So I think it's really important, especially if you're new to the Course, to let go of the belief that anybody's trying to convert you in any kind of way or make you try to believe something that you don't want to believe. Because what that does is that blocks a person being willing to even just hear what you're saying. So it's not necessary to agree with whatever the Course is saying, but it is giving us some new ways of looking at things. Today, I'm going to cover a section that's a really trippy section. I can understand why we have who we have here. The section is called the correction of error. And the correction of error is on page 166 in the text. And just a few loaner copies over here in case anybody wants to follow along in the book. The correction of error, the correction of error, the correction of mistakes. Now, let me define the word ego. The Course in Miracles definition of the ego would be the false self, the part of us that thinks it's separate from each other, the part of us that has a fearful mind. So the Course is saying that the alertness of the ego to the errors of other egos is not the kind of vigilance that Holy Spirit, which is your loving right mind, would have you maintain. So I'm going to say that again. Me being alert to the mistakes that you make, that is not what Spirit is asking us to do, to be on the alert to every error and every fear you have. I'm on the alert to it. I am very alert to, I'm looking at how everybody else is the problem and how everybody else is the problem, and I'm trying to focus on everybody else's mistakes. The Course says there's nothing in love that's asking you to be vigilant for everybody else's fear. Because the Course defines the ego as the part of the mind that has fear in it, and the Holy Spirit part of your mind is the part of your mind that has love in it. So the Course is saying that egos, most people who think that they're separate and who have fear-based consciousness, the Course says they are critical in terms of what their kind of sense stands for. They understand this kind of sense because it's sensible to them. What in the heck did that mean? I'm judging your mistake based on my value systems and my beliefs. So I'm saying what you're doing is wrong based on my beliefs. Does that make sense to everybody? Mm-hmm. It's like every time we're judging what somebody else is doing, it's not that they're necessarily doing anything wrong, but it may be wrong to you because of the kind of sense you stand for. What I see as being true, what you're doing is wrong. So the Course in Miracles is saying egos, people who are fear-based or have a lot of fear in their minds or feel separate from others, in other words, regular folk that we see every day. Okay, let's just break it down, okay? Regular folk that we see every day that don't know that they're one with God and don't have a heart that's full of love and compassion and understanding and take 100% responsibility for their experience and still feel like they're connected to God and Source. People who are not like that, then they're the ones who make up their own value systems, judge other people based on whether they're acting out their value system, and they're on the lookout to see who's violating their value system. So the Course in Miracles says, to the loving part of you, to the Holy Spirit in you, to the part of you that knows the truth, that don't make no sense. What doesn't make any sense? To spend my day being alert to everything I can be critical of you about, judge you about, say it's your problem and your mistake, and then judge you based on my belief system and my values. The Course says a loving man doesn't operate like that. It's not on the lookout for every flaw, every guilt, every little negative thing that it can come up with and everybody around it based on its own beliefs. Mighty Companions Online, it's good to see you here. I need to hear this. So, now, to the ego, the next paragraph says, to the ego, to the person that thinks that they're separate from everybody else and has a certain amount of fear and guilt and separation. They think it's kind and right and good to point out errors and correct them. To someone who doesn't know what the truth is according to what the Course is teaching, I said it again, to someone who doesn't know the truth because this is a curriculum like any other curriculum, it's not the only one, but it's one that is tailor-made for some people to bring them to a state of peace. It's not tailor-made for everybody. No one theological or spiritual teaching is. If you wait for everybody to believe the same thing the same way, you're never going to see it happen. You're not going to convert everybody on earth to look at something the way one person looks at it. Can we pretty much say we got that much sanity? Okay. But each one of those paths are the right path for the people that are on it, and then they feel like they need it. You know, there's some people absolutely got to go the path of the Bible. There's some people that's going to go the path of the Quran or metaphysics or new thoughts. It's like everybody's got their own special curriculum to get to the truth. And so the Course is saying to someone who doesn't know the truth, in a person that's in their wrong mind, it actually says they think it's kind and right and good to point out mistakes and correct them, because this makes perfect sense to the fear-based mind, which is unaware of what mistakes are and what correction is. So a person that doesn't know what the error really is and what the correction really is, the Course says that's the person who thinks it's kind and right and good to always point out your mistakes. And not only point out your mistakes, but I'm going to correct them too. I'm not just going to point your mistakes out. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to be doing, fellow. Anybody familiar with that? It said anybody. The Course says anybody that's doing that is somebody who really doesn't know what correction really is. And there was a part of me that would want to like argue with that. Oh, but you got to point out everybody's mistakes. Except I always come back to, if I'm thinking about doing something that everybody are doing and have been doing for ages and it hasn't worked, then maybe I need to be open to looking at another way of doing it. Because all of us can cite tons of instances where each and every one of us have pointed out somebody's errors and we thought that we should correct them. And we see people do that all the time, and then look at the state of the world today. So if that really solved all problems, we would have all problems solved by now. And that's what always makes me like go, you know, maybe I should consider what the Course is saying, because I've tried this and I've watched everybody else try this and it hasn't brought any real peace. So maybe we are doing it wrong and we just don't know it. But because we're overlooking the obvious hint that we're doing it wrong, which is the sense of separation and fear and chaos that's in the world today. You know, but I know the problem is you. See, I know what the problem is. I know, all right, if everybody was just more like me, and they thought the way I thought, and they had my values, the world would be a better place, right? Then multiply that past about hundreds of millions of people, and then you'll know why the world doesn't have peace right now. Because most people, they don't take responsibility for their unhappiness. They think their unhappiness is being caused by something or someone outside themselves. So everybody's busy trying to change the one thing that won't make any difference is somebody else, right? So the Course in Miracles is saying anybody that thinks the answer is pointing out everybody else's mistakes, that's a person who has no idea what correction really is or how correction really happens. It says, now this is a really deep, it says errors come from the fearful mind And the correction of errors lies in the relinquishment of the ego. So what does that mean? The correction of our errors lie in the relinquishment of our wrong-mindedness. Another word for the ego is the part of me that's not thinking correctly, which is the part of me that's not thinking with love. So what's going to really get rid of the mistake is love. What's going to really get rid of all of our mistakes is love. It's joining, connecting, caring, being sane, being responsible. But you can't expect crazy people to do that by themselves. And the Course says we're ridiculously insane in this world. That we've learned ridiculously insane things that are the opposite of love. That we are really sane beings who've learned insane things and are acting out those insane thoughts and then wonder why there's so much fear and separation. For me to not like you because of the color of your skin is stupid and insane. I need to get to know you before I don't like you. I don't want it to be based on your color at all. You know what I'm saying? Just to think that somebody would just look at me and not like me because I have brown skin is ignorant. So that's what the Course is saying. The answer is relinquishing your wrong thinking. That's what's going to correct the error. It's for us to let go of thinking that is not correct and loving and true. And so that's what the Course calls the ego. The ego is a thought system. It's a way that we think of ourselves, that we're taught from the world, that tells us that we're separate from each other and that we have no personal power to create our experience. And tells us we're separate from our Creator and that our Creator condemns us instead of lovingly corrects us. So the Course is saying that there's basically two types of minds in the world. Minds who believe they're separate and minds who believe they're connected. That's it. Whether you're male, female, young, old, black, white, American, African, there's two kinds of people in the world. Those who look out and see separate beings and those who look out and see brothers and sisters that they're connected to or that they're one with, all in the same boat, needing to join together to go to a higher plane. There's only kind of two people in the world. But it has a variety of flavors. Like you can say ice cream, but then you can say there are 900 flavors, but it's still ice cream. It's just one thing. So the Course is teaching us this is just one thing being expressed in a multitude of ways, and we're all connected to each other. What I love about it is that I can think that when I'm around people without ever saying anything to them out loud and watch myself receive a much more loving connection with people just because I think they're connected to me. So really we try. When you start looking at other people as being connected to you and you join with them, even if you never say anything, you will start to experience a different reflection back to you from the world at large when you're out in it. Because our minds are joined, but our bodies aren't, obviously. And if I want to be separate from you, I need to be separate in something. My body is the way that I can appear to be separate and different from each and every one of you. That is so obvious, we missed it. We miss it. The Course says, if people say, where did the body come from? The idea of being separate. Because it's the thing you feel separate with. That's what it's there for. So that until you love somebody, you can get away from them. Could you imagine that we were stuck with each other without bodies to get away from each other until we get some sense? The body is your getaway car. Right? I mean, think about it. I'm mad at you. Boom, I'm gone. Suppose I didn't have nowhere to go. I didn't have nothing to go. Then I got a deal. You got to be me and you, no matter what. So I always tell people in my classes, if you want to know how real your relationship is, imagine you were on a desert island and you couldn't be with anything but that person's mind. That they didn't have a body, so you couldn't get caught up on the body stuff. Mm-hmm. But you had to deal with their mind. Would you shoot yourself, or would you be happy to be on that island? You know what I'm saying? If you were gonna be with your mama, and and all you had to do was gonna be with your mama's mind, your brother's mind, your boss's mind, your mate's mind, your child's mind, the minds you see on TV. That was what you're gonna be dealing with all the time. You kind of get in touch with how real and enjoyable the relationship would be, because relationships that are most enjoyable are relationships in which there is communication, that y'all can really communicate with each other, and you can communicate with each other without fear. So the Course in Miracles is saying, I love this, it says, when you correct a brother, which the Course defines as an equal, it says all of us are equal, that's what brother means. It says, when you correct another, what you're doing is you're telling that person that they're wrong. The person may be making no sense at the time. And guess what? It's certain that they won't be making any sense if they're speaking from the part of them that thinks the way that the world taught them to think. And the Course says, so they'll be making no sense. So the truth is, when you correct a person, I'm telling you that you're wrong, and you may not be making any sense at the time, but guess what? It's still my task to tell you that you are right. When I heard that, I went, what?
I know.
Okay, but what it's saying is, you are right. What you are is right, not necessarily what you are saying or thinking. There's you in what you think. There's you in what you believe. You as a being are right because you were created by God. You are a loving, powerful, spiritual being. That's what you are. What you really are is right. That's what it means. So I'm going to get, so no matter what you're saying, even if I think it doesn't make any sense to me, the first thing I need to remember is who you are is right. Then the next sentence says what? It says, you do not tell that person this verbally if they're speaking foolishly. So it doesn't mean if somebody's saying something stupid, you go, you right.
You're right. Oh.
Okay, just, it says they need correction at another level because their mistake is at another level. That person is still right because they are a child of God. They are a child of love. They are a spiritual being that's a child of love. But their ego, which is the part of us that believes that we're separate, guilty alone, victims of everything, the Course in Miracles says that part of you, the part of you that's learned thinking that's not loving and true, he says that part of you is always wrong. No matter what it says or does. I'm always wrong if I am coming from a place of you and I are not connected, we are not joined with each other. If I forget that the way that I'm feeling right now is coming from what I'm telling myself. It is so hard to get people to understand that they're always unhappy because of what they're telling themselves and not necessarily because of the physical situation or circumstance they're dealing with. That's the hardest thing to get people to understand. That what's making you miserable is the voice inside your head. It's telling you stuff that makes you feel bad if you feel bad. If I'm feeling angry, I have angry thoughts. Those angry thoughts are making me angry. And with my wrong mind, my ego would say, no, you are making me angry. No, but what's making me angry, and it'd be so hard to be angry at you, you're such an angel, but what makes me angry is what I'm telling you, telling myself about you, what I'm telling myself about that situation. That's what's upsetting you. So everything you think you're upset about, according to the Course in Miracles, it has nothing to do with what you think you're upset about. I think I'm upset because my kid, kept my car longer than I told my kid to keep my car last night. That made me mad. No, I made myself mad because my kid didn't come in on time with the car. I could have just as easily felt peace, still told my kid they weren't going to drive my car for the next 3 weeks. Right? There was no need. Anger wasn't necessary in order for me to handle the situation, is what I'm saying. So me getting mad was that was the way I chose to behave to the kid coming home late with the car. So everything in your life, even if you lost your job, you don't have to be upset about it. That's still your choice. Some people will look at it like, I've been liberated from a job I hate anyway, and I'm about to have the universe provide me with new opportunities beyond my wildest imagination because I'm so security conscious that I stay on something that I hate for the rest of my life, and the universe refused to let me suffer like that. So because I deserve something better than what I give myself, I got laid off.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? What happened? So some people go, I got laid off today. And some people go, I got laid off today. What's the common denominator? They both got laid off. What's the difference? The way one person looked at it and the way the other person looked at it. And if you really want to feel good, this is good news. Because that means your happiness is really within your reach on a regular basis. If my unhappiness is coming from my thoughts, feelings, emotions, and beliefs, then all I have to do is change my thoughts, feelings, emotions, and beliefs. And guess whose thoughts, feelings, emotions, and beliefs that would be the easiest for me to change? Who want to guess? Mine. Most of you all would agree with that, right?
Right.
That it's easier for you to change you than somebody else?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the easier path. So stop trying it the other way. That's how you know you heard it. I do not want my joy today to depend on you. I really don't. I really don't. Sound fair to you because I'm going to put unrealistic expectations on what you need to do to make me happy. You know, plus you may not want me to be happy. So I certainly don't want my happiness to depend on the whims of my brothers and sisters who don't really know how to be happy themselves most of the time.
That's a lost cause.
The Course in Miracles says when someone says the truth to us and tells us how we think, it'll sound crazy to us. Like when I share how we think and y'all say, you're right, it is crazy to expect somebody else. When we actually hear it objectively, it sounds totally insane. But when we're caught up in our own desires, then it makes sense to us to try to blame everybody else for what we're upset about. So the Course says the person needs correction at another level. Their ego is always wrong, no matter what it does. So I'm going to stop here for 5 minutes and then ask if there are any questions or clarifications about what we've covered so far. This section is really powerful. So if we could allow ourselves to hear it, it would really be worthwhile. But I want to give you an opportunity to give your opinions and your questions and share your wisdom. Cricket. What was one thing that you heard out of that kind of really piqued your attention?
An attempt to correct another person's mistake is me still making a mistake.
Me trying to correct your mistake is, and it's going to show you why. So that's what. So don't think I'm going to leave you hanging. It's going to show you how correction is made. That's the name of the correction of error. It doesn't mean you're going to want to do it. It doesn't mean you're going to want to do it. It doesn't mean, because if you feel like there are any mistakes in your life or any fears in your life, then your attention should be riveted right now anyway. See, that's the thing about it. If you really seriously want to get rid of mistakes in your life and you listen to something that's saying there's a possibility I can show you how all your errors can be corrected, then you would be focused in on it. You know, I'm in a room full of gas and they're saying there's one way out. I would probably be giving that person my attention.
Now, if they say strike a match, you'd be like, I don't know.
Well, the thing that I'm saying is you would give that person your attention, whether they're getting ready to say something that's not true or true. If they were telling you this is the way out, you especially if you saw yourself in a dire strait. So I'm saying that most people don't make changes unless they suffer. I've been doing this 40 years, and people just jab around until they're suffering. Pain is a great motivator for people to change. It's not necessary to have to go through pain and suffering, but when you hate yourself, you don't ever do anything that makes it easy for you. You're a drama king or queen, and you keep stuff going all the time. That's the thing. That's right. And so, right, and that's what people. Well, most people, their lives, many people, their lives are so dull. The only thing that makes it interesting is the drama.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why they know they're alive. Is that they got some am I going to be evicted next week? what's my lover doing? How am I going to pay that bill? Then you look for like, all of a sudden this voice to say, and next week, tune into Earl and how he's going to pay his bill. When I was a kid, I would get up in the morning. I never forget this. I would get up in the morning, and I was like 8, 9 years old. And when I wake up in the morning, I go, The Adventures of the Purdy Family. And then I would say, starring Joe Purdy, Georgia Purdy, George Purdy, Joe Purdy, Earlene Purdy, Carolyn Purdy, Dolores Purdy, Donna Purdy, and the star, Earl Purdy. I was going to be the star, you know what I'm saying? And I did that every morning because when I was a kid, I knew this wasn't our reality. I knew that this was some type of a super duper school that we were in, and when we die, we go home. We're off at school. And some souls know this. There are people who walk this earth that know this is not it. And some are oblivious to that fact, right? And so whenever my sisters were on the phone or something or talking to their boyfriends or whatever, then I would run up behind them and go, dun, 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 dun. And I would like play, the soundtrack, and they'd be like, get out of here! They would like try to run me out of the room, because I saw it as this serial. I called it a serial drama. It was like a soap opera. That's what I look at it as. It's like a soap opera. And the reason I'm saying this is that you're caught up in your story, and it's a possibility you become a mad actor, and a mad actor is the actor who thinks he's the role he's playing, he or she is playing. So now you are the mother, you are the father, you are the doctor, you are the teacher. Somebody asks you who you are, and you tell them what you do. That's what most people do.
Yep.
Who are you? Well, I'm a librarian. No, you're not. That's a role you play. That's work you do. You are the unlimited child of God. You are spirit. You are a spiritual being. You are love. You are this conscious awareness that's having this experience in this physical body. So the Course says, if you point out the errors of another person's ego, we don't hear anything else. It says, if you point out the errors in your brother's ego, you must be seeing through yours. So if I see an error in you, I'm just seeing it through the part of my mind that has that same error, is what the Course is saying. If I say that you are a selfish person, how would I know what that meant unless I had selfishness and selfish thoughts to relate to what that means?
Yep. Otherwise, there won't be any reference point.
Exactly. So when you point out somebody else's flaws, you should thank them because they just made you aware of yours. So instead of you trying to correct them, they just reveal to you, through your criticism of them what you need to work on. So most people want to believe, oh my God, I'm this really wonderful person seeing crap in everybody else, right? And the Course of Miracles says, sorry, you can only see my crap through your crap. You can only see your goodness, my goodness, through you seeing your goodness. You can only see my freedom when you see your freedom. So there's not one single criticism you can have about anybody that you don't also have that same flaw because you saw it. Even somebody say, well, I don't murder. I said, well, ask a few mosquitoes if that's true. We are not different. Do you have attack thoughts? Yes. Some people take those attack thoughts to an extreme level. But we all have anger and attack thoughts and separation thoughts that come up. So I'm glad that if I'm pointing out your mistakes, I'm looking through the mistakes in my own mind. He says, because the Holy Spirit doesn't perceive the person's mistakes. Love doesn't perceive the person's mistakes. It says this must be true since there's no communication between the fearful, unaware part of the mind and the loving part of the mind, the ego and the Holy Spirit. That's true in your day-to-day experience. If you are really angry, if you are talking to a person that's totally angry and upset and afraid, and you're trying to come from a place of sanity and peace and care, y'all clash. You don't even understand each other at all because there's no communication between a person that's full of nothing but fear and separation and a person that's full of unity and oneness. There's no real communication because they're looking at things from an entirely different place. So the Course says the ego makes no sense. I love this. So the person that isn't extending love, isn't focusing on truth, isn't focusing on freedom, the Course says that person makes no sense. So the saner you become, the more that people who are into fear and guilt and separation and attack, you go, that don't make no sense. Being that way doesn't make any sense. And the Course in Miracles says the ego, the part of the mind that doesn't love, doesn't make any sense. And love, the Holy Spirit, doesn't attempt to understand anything that arises from it. So the Course is saying a really conscious being doesn't really try to understand anything that a person that is full of unconscious fear, anger, and guilt is saying. I'm not going to even, he says, love doesn't even attempt to understand anything that arises from fear. Love doesn't, because it says if you can understand it, you can appreciate it. If you can appreciate it, you can love it. If you can love it, you'll draw it to yourself. So what I understand, I think I can appreciate. But if I try to understand anything but love, then I'm trying to appreciate anything but love. It was funny when, like on the debates, when Marianne Williamson mentioned that she believed that the power of love could be more powerful than fear. And then everybody so many people ridicule her for, they call it, one paper called her a peacemonger. As if it's a negative thing to want peace among us. That'll give you some idea of how insane where we are is. Mm-hmm. That if you said we should love each other, you're looked at as the weirdo.
Right.
And if you're just attacking like everybody else is, you're making a whole lot of sense. So a loving person doesn't try to understand anything that comes from a fearful person. And since the loving person doesn't understand things that come from ego and anger and guilt and fear, if you don't understand something, you can't judge it. Because it says a conscious loving mind knows that nothing comes from the fearful, angry, separate mind means anything. What does that mean? I'm going to give you the advantage of having, help from having done this for so long. What does that simply mean? There is nothing we can do that affects what's true. What is true is going to be true no matter what you believe. So we can never stop love from being the basis of everything that's real. That we can't change. Your opinion will not change gravity. The fact that I don't like gravity is not going to happen. So the Course is saying there is a love that is real. There's a God that is real. There's a spirit that is real. And it's going to be the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And you can always count on it. And you can always tap into it, no matter what you believe. Sometimes people act like unless they agree something isn't true. Right? We'll sit around, we go, I don't agree with what he's saying, so that couldn't be true. Okay, so it's nothing's true that you don't see. Okay, that lets you know you're coming from a wrong-minded place. So I'm not going to try to understand anything that you're talking about. Because it makes no sense. Just like what he said, don't feel bad because you don't try to understand stuff that some people are saying that you know is so full of crap that it doesn't even make any sense. He said, don't try to understand them. Don't try to understand the people that hate. Don't try to understand the people that rob, kill, feel separate, feel guilty, project. He said, don't try to understand them. Because then they'll make sense to you. And nothing about that kind of behavior should make sense. That the only thing that should make sense is peace and love and awareness and sharing and caring and healing, which will solve all the problems that we think we have right now. But I'm waiting for y'all to do it. Right? I'm looking for you to do it, and when you do it, it'll get changed. Right? And so the Course says, because you don't understand something, you don't judge it. So if I say I don't understand you, then I should not judge you, because I should not judge what I don't understand. One of the things I do is astrology. So if I say to you, God, your Saturn is square Uranus opposed Venus, what you think about that? You wouldn't know what the hell to say. You would, because you don't understand it, what? You couldn't judge it. But if I think I already know everything about my child, my mate, and my boss, I'm judging them up and down because I think I understand them and I really understand their problem and I also know what they need to do to correct it. And so the Course in Miracles is saying, no, if you were to say, I don't understand you, and just think about that when you say that to people, I don't understand you, usually that means at some level you're in a receptive mode to try to get a clearer picture of what's going on. Think about it. You go, I don't understand you. That's me saying, okay, help me out. Yeah. Tell me something I don't know. Because I don't understand you. But if I go, I understand you, I know where you coming from. You did that just to hurt me. Have you ever had people tell you what you feel and that you made yourself feel irritated about it? That used to be one of my pet peeves when someone would tell me, I know where you coming from. You thought this, and then you thought after you did this over here was gonna happen. I know what you're doing. You've met people that you probably done that yourself. Where you were absolutely sure you understood. And then have you ever had that happen and you found out later you were as wrong as you could possibly be? It happened to me last night. I went to pick somebody up and I got off the elevator and I went and knocked on their door and I was like, I said, well, you know, they buzzed me in. They should be expecting me to come up. What's it? Why are they not coming to the door? And I looked up and I was on the wrong floor. So what was I doing? Reacting to my interpretation of the situation, which was the other person was totally innocent. So how many times have people been totally innocent and you didn't know your upset was wrong? It's not like every time you've had a bad judgment, you knew it.
Right.
You probably got perceptions of stuff right now that you don't even realize that you're looking at it completely wrong, especially like your parents and your mates and exes, because you're looking back at those relationships based on your reactions to them in the situation, not based on how they were responding and reacting to you. So when I look back with my relationships, all I remember is how I felt about my old girlfriend or my old teacher. I'm just remembering how I experienced them. You know, so is that a real accurate perception of what really happened between you if you just remembering only how you felt about it? Like you might be going, oh my God, I had such a great time with them. I would love to hook up with them and see them again because I just enjoyed their company. And then they hear your name and they go, oh my God, please don't call me. Because my experience of you was totally different. My reaction to you was totally different. And that doesn't mean that was true about you either. But that was just my reaction. So you're never reacting from the perspective of knowing what the other person was really thinking or feeling about you. You're just remembering how you felt about them or what they might have said or your interpretation of their behavior. But the Course is saying interpretation is not reality. Your judgments are not reality. That's the meaning. That's just the meaning you're giving to stuff, and that doesn't make it true. Wow. And then think about how many times you told yourself interpretations of people that make you feel upset or make you feel angry. But that you're angry because of what you're telling yourself about them. So I'm going to get me a relationship with somebody who's going to act out all my wishes and fantasies, and they're going to dedicate their life to doing what I think they should do to make me happy. And in return, I'll give them my dysfunctional love.
For a few years.
Yeah, maybe. You're stretching it. You know, I don't even know how to love unconditionally with full compassion and open-minded and forgiveness, but I certainly believe you all should treat me that way. If I make a mistake, you all should forgive it. But if you make a mistake, you should hang from the highest tree. You know, and that's what the Course is trying to get us to see, is that you're going to live in a world that's based on your attitudes, perceptions, and beliefs. Those are the kind of people you're going to draw to you. And even if there are people that are more loving, you won't even see them. You'll edit them out. So the world is a reflection of your belief system. That's what he's saying. When you get into your loving mind, you're not going to spend all your time trying to figure out where people are coming from who are full of anger, fear, and grievances. That you're going to see everything that they're doing is just a call for help and a call for love and a need to have God's healing and truth come to them. And you'll stop looking at it like you're the God that must correct and fix everybody else. You would ask for guidance from God, higher power, and then you would follow that guidance. And the Course says you can tell when it's your guidance because you'll be able to do it and you'll be willing to do it. And you won't feel like it's a sacrifice to do it. And then when I put that test on it, I was not following God's guidance on 90% of the stuff in my life that I was doing for people. You know what I'm saying? Because I would choose stuff to do that I felt like was a sacrifice. And I would say God told me to do things that I couldn't do right now, that I needed to go to school for the next 10 years before I could do it or move out of town. I noticed that advice that I was giving myself and attributing to God always involved the past or the future. It was very seldom something I could do right now and I was willing to do right now, and it gave me joy to do it right now. That's how you can tell when you're following true guidance according to the course that we don't have to believe. But it sure makes a lot more sense. I would much more likely pick you up if I want to than if I was forcing myself to because I didn't want to come over your house and pick you up. So it makes sense that a loving creator would direct me to do things that would be fulfilling to me and helpful to the other person at the same time. Because if I'm not resisting and sacrificing, I'd be willing to do it. That's why if you're in a relationship with somebody you don't love, it's hell. Because all the time you're doing stuff that you don't really want to do, that you think you ought to do, that you think you should do, that you got to do. But if I love you, I don't care what you were going through, whether it was a painful situation or a joyful situation, because of how I feel for you, I would want to be there of service and of help to you. So you need to stop, people need to stop getting in relationships with people they don't love. Because when you're in a relationship with somebody you don't love, everything you do becomes an effort. Mm-hmm. Nothing about it is easy, because you don't want to do it. It's not really that deep, you know. But we have been taught that love is sacrifice. So we've been taught that if you really love somebody, you do everything you don't want if they want you to do it, which kind of sounds selfish to me on their part. Like, how are you saying I'm selfish when you're upset with me because I won't do it the way you want it done all the time? But that you think that's kind of selfish on your part. See, that makes sense. So people don't want to hear that, you know. So there are two kinds of people in the world: the ones that want each other to feel guilty and try to manipulate them through guilt and anger, and those who don't want to manipulate that way. And as you become more and more on the peace side, which doesn't mean you're on the weak side, because a peaceful person is stronger than a person that's in conflict. Because a person in conflict is so divided, they don't really have any concentrated power. But a person that's peaceful can see things clear, can kind of step back and be more objective, receive guidance, and know how to deal with it. A person that's angry and upset has the distorted perception. You know, I had something come up last night that I noticed I was making myself feel angry about, and I wanted to shoot off a text. And then my right mind that recognized the correction of error is not listening to my own crazy mind, or not just somebody else's. You know, most of us, if we had friends telling us what we tell ourselves, we would want that person as a friend.
Right. Mm-hmm.
If that voice in your head was objective to you, you never go out with it.
Right.
It's the truth. But we'll take stuff, negative stuff that we tell ourselves, and just feed it over and over and over again, and then get mad if somebody else was to say the same thing to us, and then wondering why we feel bad. Well, if I'm the one that's telling myself non-stop crappy thoughts, then I'm going to be consistently unhappy, and then I'm going to say my life sucks. But I don't realize I am the one that's causing it to suck, because I'm telling myself stuff that doesn't inspire me, move me, or turn me on. I'm looking for somebody else to do it. But then they're going to reflect how I think about myself. So if I'm not really loving myself, I'm going to attract somebody who judges me and criticizes me and doesn't treat me very well, because there's some part of me that's not loving me. So then it seems even more true, because I feel crappy about myself and everybody else saying you right. And have you ever had that? You confess what you feel bad about, that you think is horrible about you, and the other person said, but you forgot what you did Christmas. Don't you remember the other thing you did too? Mm-hmm. You know, there's some people that remind you of the things that cause you pain when you're telling them you're already in pain, right? They're mirroring what I'm telling myself. And so the people that you form intimate relationships with, regardless of what you say about how conscious you are, those are the people that reflect your consciousness. And the more intimate the relationship is, the more they'll like you. And if you don't like the people around you, then you know that at this point, you have some things that need to be healed within yourself. And that by love, that's easy. With your children, you might have to deal with them no matter what, even though some people don't. But your friends, that's really up to you. I do not understand people having friends that are not supportive and they don't feel peace around, because that's totally your choice. So for you to choose to stay in relationships with people who point out your errors, tell you what you're doing wrong, trying to tell you what to do, projecting their happiness on what you would do or don't do, the Course says what you need to do is when you react at all to mistakes, you are not listening to the Holy Spirit. When you're reactionary, and that's what I was getting ready to say last night, I felt myself feeling angry. I felt that contraction, and the Course has told me that I can admit I don't like the way I feel, but I need to say, I hope I'm wrong. I need to pause, I need to take a breath and not act on that until I reach some level of peace. So I waited a while. I didn't wait long enough, but I waited a while. You know, what I mean by that is, I didn't say what I could have said to make it even worse. So I did edge a little bit back, you know what I'm saying? But it wasn't pure bliss. Wasn't no flowers coming out of my hands when I was typing. But what I love about the Course is now I can admit my errors to myself without blaming and projecting and beating myself up about it. So it's easier for me to tell people what I perceive to be the flaws in my thinking, because I feel like I am loved by an eternal love that will love me no matter what and correct my mistakes. So now I don't have to be caught up on saying, yeah, I acted a fool last night and I really want to choose differently now. I don't have to try to paint a picture to everybody that Earl is perfect because he wants to be a teacher. I don't have none of that's in me anymore after studying. I don't really care, to be honest, like I used to, about what anybody thinks of me, especially people I don't know. I used to be concerned about what they thought, and then the voice said, "Who are they? Where does they live?" You know what I'm saying? Did you do that too? Like, and most people are so self-absorbed, they're not thinking about you. They really aren't. I know it may be hard for your specialists to really accept the fact that people really not thinking about you. They're really not. So I can't wear this. What will people think? Nothing. Not a dog, they might go, oh, that damn short is short. And last night, honey, let me tell you what I was doing when I was out there. Your dress is 5 seconds to them, and all morning to you. I don't know. I might be the wrong one. You know, it's like nobody. And that's good news. That means you're invisible most of the time, which means you're free. Ultimate freedom is in the world is in being unknown. Oprah ain't free. She couldn't go to City Park today to the Black Arts Festival. Sometimes money is great for creating a really luxurious prison. You can't go nowhere, but damn, you in a great prison. Look at how many rooms it got, and fireplaces, and flat screen TVs. The Course says freedom is of your mind. Now, if she's okay with it, she's free. So where are you in prison? You know, where is it that you're limiting yourself because you're concerned about what other people think? And then take it a step further. Are they having to pay your bills? Are they there for you when you're sick or upset? You know, who are they? Because when you radiate from being your authentic self and doing what you want to do because it feels right for you, you have what people call charisma. Charisma is nothing but a person that expresses on the outside what's going on in the inside. That's a charismatic person. It's not a person who's afraid to express themselves because of how they feel other people are going to see them. That's no charisma. But for you to be your authentic self, you're gonna be a magnetic person. So the Course says, so love has merely disregarded the mistakes. If you attend to them, you're not hearing the Holy Spirit. If you don't hear the truth and the Holy Spirit, it means you're listening to your ego, your fear, and so you're making as little sense as the person whose mistakes you perceive. You making as many mistakes as the person you perceive. You say this can't be correction, and yet it's merely more than a lack of correction for the other person. It's giving up correction in yourself. So let's make that practical. You just said something that is not based on love and not based on the truth. Okay, if I'm reacting to that and focusing on that, then I'm not listening to my higher self. I'm not listening to the truth, because it's already told me don't try to understand that and don't try to focus in on it. So what should I do? I should disregard the things that I'm hearing that's not a reflection of the truth. But then if I did that all day, what would happen? You'd have a peaceful day. What? If you disregarded all the insanity around you, but yet you were trying to be as loving and helpful as you can be, you've done as much as you can do for the world. So what difference does it make knowing all the insane, stupid mistakes that it looks like other people are making? because you can't correct them anyway. You can only correct yours through the love in you. So the Course is saying disregard it. Put your attention on the truth, listening to the Holy Spirit. It took me a while to understand that that was not me shucking off my responsibility. It was really the Course in Miracles making me aware of a fact. The fact is, the truth is, y'all could tell me totally mean, cruel, crazy stuff right now, and still the only thing I could do about it would be how I would choose to react myself. So still, I should be disregarding what you're saying and focusing on the love, which is the Holy Spirit in myself. Does that make sense to y'all? As it does to me. Yeah. So your ego would say, well, you're not being responsible. You need to get involved with everybody. He said, no, I am involved. I'm trying to better myself every day. I'm trying to be a more loving person every day. I'm taking responsibility for myself every day. I'm trying to get closer to God every day. I'm not trying to attack you. I'm willing to be of help to you in whatever way Spirit wants me to. I don't have to add the burden of paying attention to the stupid stuff you think and do. But that's what I used to do. That's where all my focus was on. This book is so deep. It is so deep. And then it says, if I attend to that part of me that tells me to attend to your mistake, he says, then you're not hearing the Holy Spirit. You're not hearing your guidance, which means you're listening to your own ego, which is telling you the wrong thing to do, which is to focus on everybody else outside of you. He says, then you're making as little sense as the other person, because that's what they're doing too. That's why they're mad. They're already focusing on things outside of themselves and telling themselves things that makes them miserable. And now you're focusing on what they're saying that's miserable, which is making you miserable. So you're making as little sense as they are, because neither one of y'all are listening to God at that point. And he says that can't be correction. You making a mistake as much as the other person, he says that can't be correction. It's really giving up correction in yourself. So how do you heal a person? He says when a person is acting crazy, when the brother is behaving insanely, that's the nice way. Okay. It says you can heal that person only by perceiving the sanity in them. How do I heal you? By remembering that you are not your insanity. That there's a part of you that is sane. There's a part of you that is loving. There's a part of you that is good. There is a part of each and every one of you that's beautiful and wonderful and guiltless and innocent. He says, if you're gonna see what you focus on. So if I start to focus on there's a sanity behind your insanity, I'll start to see your sanity. That's why when people are upset, I've learned through the Course, if at all possible, breathe and shut up. Just breathe and shut up. Why? Because if you breathe and shut up, first of all, that pause can give you a moment to hear how you should act. And on top of that, I've never met a person who didn't come upon some level of sanity within themselves after they vent. Because what makes me mad is when I need to vent and someone's trying to stop me, or they're trying to defend against what I'm saying.
Yes.
But if they'll just be quiet, if I'll just be quiet and I let them, and even if it's about me, I go, say everything you got to say. Just come on with it, And even if I don't want to hear it, and I feel myself being tempted to react because, I'm going to react to the extent that I believe what they're saying is true. Okay, I'll say that again. When somebody's saying something about you and you find yourself getting upset about it, you believe 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 every doggone thing they're saying. That's why you're getting upset about it. There's a part of you that believes you no good too. You see? So if I cannot interrupt because I feel like I've been attacked and the person gets it out, and the fact that you've been peaceful makes what they're saying about your character not true. Right on the spot. If you're criticizing and judging me and saying what's wrong with me, and I'm sitting up there being peaceful and not attacking you, I'm demonstrating to you I'm not the person you're talking about. I'd be all over you like white on rice right now. So I'm already showing you I'm a much more peaceful person than what you're talking about. And then what happens is usually right behind that, the person will start saying same stuff themselves. They go, I know. Sometimes I just really get upset about. I know I need to look at it differently. Maybe there's a way we can let them get it out. Because why? Because I believe there's a sanity in you beyond what I'm seeing coming out of you right now. This is the last paragraph I'm gonna do today, because I love you. And it says, if you perceive the person's mistakes and then accept them, you're accepting yours. If I accept the negative thing about you is true, then it could also be true about me. Right? And so the Course says, if you want to give, I love this, if you want to give your mistakes, if you want to give your problems, if you want to give your errors over to God, over to the Holy Spirit, over to love, over to your right mind, he says, then you got to do that with the other persons. He says, that's the other thing we forget. All right, I'm praying to God, help me, Creator, help me in this situation or circumstance. Help me in this situation, this relationship, right? We do this, right? Okay, so why is it your responsibility then to solve my problem? If you're giving yours over to God, why don't you give mine over to God? Why is it that you can give yours to God, but you think you need to handle mine? Right? That's what the book is saying. Unless you give your problems over to the Spirit, if I think God is there to help me, why wouldn't I pray for you and believe God would be there to help you? Why can't I handle your problem the same way I'm handling my problem? And he says, how is this different from teaching you, telling you that what you teach, you learn? If I'm demonstrating giving things to God, then I'm learning to give things to God. If I'm demonstrating giving things to love, to truth, then I'm learning how to do it. So this book is saying, stop feeling like you got to correct everybody else. Realize that the only person that needs to be corrected is your own mind. Spirit knows exactly how to do that. Also, if you want God to handle your problems, start giving everybody else's problems to God. And if there's something for you to do, you'll be told what that is. And it'll be something that you're able to do, willing to do, won't be a sacrifice to do. Because then it's a high likelihood it'll get done. If you ask me to do something I can't do, that kind of increases the possibility it might be done. But the Course says we do it just the opposite. We think what's required of us is what I don't have, the money I don't have, the love I don't have, the forgiveness I don't have. And so the Course says, this will put you to sleep. Why? Because there's still a part of me that still doesn't believe this is the answer, so therefore I don't need to hear it because it's not what's going to solve my problem. Or I think I already know, even though I'm not really getting the result yet. So the Course in Miracles is saying your brother is as right as you are, and if you think your brother is wrong, it just means you're condemning yourself. You can't correct yourself, so is it possible for you to correct somebody else? But you can see the other person truly, and then it's possible for you to see yourself truly. And then he says, then that person's errors are not coming from the truth in them, and neither is yours. So it's so loving. It's so loving. So everybody, if you heard this correctly, you should walk out today with less of a sense of burden from all the things you think you need to do to try to fix everything and everybody else. Yes. The book just said, look, the next thing you see in somebody else, that's in you. So kind of thank that person for making you aware of what you need to correct in yourself. And then people go, well, I ain't nothing like my uncle. Yes, you are. Your uncle is sometimes full of fear and misperception, and sometimes sees things correctly. And you are sometimes full of misperception, and you sometimes see things. You're exactly like everybody you know. Thank you for listening to this. My code is Spirit. Come on, encourage me. Encourage me. I need encouragement. I'm not completely past all my codependency yet. All right? It's okay. I'm a work in progress. All right? Okay, so let's do the love offering right now. Thank you for supporting and sharing here in the Course in Miracles with me. Those of you online, if you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation, you can go to earlpurdy.com, EARLPURDY, Earl Purdy. And you can also use Venmo. And my email is earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. And it's all about Earl Purdy. All right? Okay, so thank you those of you who see value in what I do enough to share with me. Let me pass that around, darling. Thank you. Also, I'm available for one-on-one sessions called Clarity Sessions. Let me bring 40 years of working with people and with the Course in Miracles into whatever problem or challenge that you think you're going through right now, because there are no original problems. And Spirit has already given us the solution. There's a lesson in the course that says, let me recognize my problem has already been solved. And I was thinking about that, you know. For instance, if I show you how you can change your tire, then you need to recognize that problem has already been solved. Think about that for a second. Now you got to go ahead and change the tire using the instruction, but the problem was solved because you were told how to handle it. So I realized when it says, let me recognize the problem has already been solved, what I realized was the course was saying there's an answer to everything that you think is a problem. And you need to recognize that, and you need to recognize your way of handling it isn't it.
Yeah.
Why? Because I'm not getting the joy and peace that reflects if I was really using the answer. And you know you don't know the answer when you say, if the other person changes, I'd be happy. That's one of the best ways to know you off base. When you go, oh, I know what the problem is. As soon as they change, no, as soon as I get rid of this voice inside of my head that I'm listening to that's telling me to look at this in such a way that I'm upsetting myself and making myself feel separate, that's when I'm going to start to be happy. And I need help because I'm in a world where I don't hear what I just said to you today very often. I don't hear it on NBC News. I don't see it in the Denver Post. I don't hear what I just said today in the world. That's why I make sure that I study it, make sure I do a class, make sure I have friends and people in my life that help reinforce it. If you're not proactive about changing your mind, do you think, this is how powerful this is. You can listen to this stuff and you can do it in a way that's not even full attention and see changes in your life.
Yes.
And yet you know yourself you're not putting the time and energy and attention that you could into it. That just gives you some idea how powerful the truth is.
Yes.
Because everything else is telling us what's not true. So right now you can relax and you can say, I give you to the Holy Spirit as part of myself. That's what you do. I'll give you, and if there's something for me to do, tell me what it is. And I'll know when I receive the answer because I want to do it and I'm willing to do it. And God isn't so crazy and cruel that somebody won't be helped unless I do it. That's the other one I think is so cool. You know, you don't want to help me, somebody will. God will bring me what I need. That's why I don't have to get addicted to any one person doing anything. You don't want to be around me, somebody will. You don't want to go out dancing, somebody does. You see what I'm saying? Love takes care of every need. Fear doesn't take care of any of them. So, Mighty Companions, if you're interested in having a session, just go to my website. It explains it completely. And I also do soul purpose astrology and numerology for people who are open to that. And if you're not, then we will use other methods. I'm not attached to you having to do it, believe what I believe. That's right. Yes, God. Okay. I knew I needed my hint. That was really good. I got my confirmation. Okay. I have a live broadcast on Facebook on the Earl Purdy page on Facebook, 7 p.m. Mountain Time, Way of Mastery on Tuesdays, 7 p.m. on Thursdays. The hardcore Course in Miracles, the dedicated Course in Miracles students. And on Sunday, we are doing our Course in Miracles class at 1 o'clock at Unity Temple, as well as being on the air. Those of you who are at home, if you want me to keep doing it where we're live, show up, okay? Because people said they wanted to keep it going at a live level, so we need to come so that we can do that, because, it's pretty easy to just stay at home. I don't have to get dressed, go nowhere. That's been on, you know what I'm saying? But I think it's important that we have a physical opportunity, and you're innocent if you don't come. Because if whatever I put on you, I'm putting on me. So if I want to be okay about however I spend my day, then I have to want you to be okay about however you spend your day. Whether it's doing what I want you to do or not. And since most people don't, I'm pretty used to that. So there's nothing to act like that's weird. Why do we get upset about stuff that we do that happens all the time? Like people not doing what you want them to do all the time. But we still, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of trippy when there's something that happens that much that we still like, ugh! It's like, do people do exactly what you want them to do all day, every day? Is that something you're used to on every level? Or is your experience that most people tend not to do what you want them to do all the time? Well, then you should be used to that by now. So it should not be upsetting you that much because it happens all the time. Okay? Then you're going to reach another level of consciousness, which is even more intense when you claim your true spiritual power. I mean, Jesus said it so plainly in the Bible, that, you know, he can do great things and you can do even greater things.
Yep.
You know, and so you're going to find that what's happening really is exactly what you want to happen all day. That's what happens every day. It's exactly what you want to happen every day, but you just don't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, wow. So when I get up in the morning, I go, wow, I get a chance to see what I've asked for today. Try that. Today, the rest of the day, you're going to get a chance to see what you asked for. Even if you didn't know you were asking for it. And if you are drawing people to you who are kind and loving and they smile, then there's a part of you that's asking for it. And if everybody's giving you a hard time, then you're asking for it. What do you mean? Well, if you're upset about it, it's because you're making yourself upset. What do you mean? Well, you're the one that's giving meaning to what they're saying. So you're the one making yourself mad all day. So you gave it the day you asked for. Because you had a choice. You didn't have to see it that way. You chose to see it that way. So you asked for it. And then you know, then you look at spirit and then you give it this finger, don't you? You know what I'm saying? But one day you're going to be so glad that you have the power to determine how you're feeling in each moment. You're going to be jumping up and down.
Yes.
And you're going to see a whole new world open up around you. So this week, your assignment is, as much as possible, try not to fix anybody else or correct anybody else, and to recognize that whatever's bugging you about them is really what you need to work on in yourself. Don't try to understand them and give them up to spirit and then ask, what do you want me to do? Where do you want me to go? What do you want me to say? Who do you want me to say it to? And know that the answer you receive from spirit would be an answer that inspired you, motivated you, you would be willing to do it. And if nothing comes to you, then that might be the answer. You do nothing. Sometimes people have been benefited more by you doing nothing than when you tried to help. There's some people in therapy right now because of your help. Ouch. So, is that right? So, Mighty Companions online, Mighty Companions in here. Thank you so much for being in my life.
Thank you.
You all are true. And if anything I said made you feel any kind of contraction, that's the thing you should pay particular attention to. The thing that you went, ugh, that's the one you want to take a look at. So, hugs are available. Thanks for coming. And I'll see you when I see you. That's how psychic I am. I promise you that. I promise you that. I'll be seeing you when I see you. Hey, Mighty Companions. Love you so much. I'll watch all your comments.